Be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. He said that fool, you weren't cool. He took a book to your school. Be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. Don't get shocked if you get mocked. It's what you find when you use your mind. Don't you sweat it, look 'em in the eye. Don't regret it, hold your head high. Be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. Try to show some tenderness, even when they're playing chess. You think it's dumb to be smart? But that's the way you make art. So be smart, dummy, dummy, be smart. Use your brain, that's a start. It's okay to be smart. Don't you think that you are cool? Sorry, dummy, the joke's on you.
Hi, I'm James Eade, and I live in the divided states of America. We're divided for one reason in particular, I think, is that we're always trying to change someone else's mind, and we're never quite ready to change our own. So, how do we change our minds? We're not really taught how, but it can be done. And if we're willing to change our minds, we might be willing to listen to other people when they talk to us, and we might be able to learn something. So I want to change my mind about a topic that I've been thinking about, and it's online dating for someone say my age, and I'm capable of getting Social Security, Medicare, and that sort of thing. And I've known people that have gone onto these online dating sites or have to download these online dating apps, but I don't think I would have enough guts to do it. And I've been married for 31 years, so the whole dating scene frightens me. But to do it on a social network or site or app, or I don't know if I could do it. So I thought I'd bring on someone who's done it and been successful at it. And so Robin Asher, thank you for joining the show today. And can you change my mind about online dating?
I hope so. I'll give it a go.
I know so little about it. I've heard of Tinder, I've heard of eHarmony, and a couple other things. And I know some people who have been on those sites and dated and done that whole thing. And what made you decide that you would go that route? Let's start with that.
Well, I'll just say that I was married for over 20 years
Mm-hmm.
and then divorced in 2013. And I found myself, at a stage in life where my kids were almost out of the house
Right.
completely. And so without a partner, life partner, it was pretty lonely to be on
Yeah.
your own. And the reality, I think, is, anyway, it was for me, that people really weren't introducing me to people. I think in the past, like when we were growing up, I think, you got introduced to people at weddings and events and things like that. I didn't find that happening at all. And
Very
friends were sympathetic, but really
right.
didn't offer a whole lot in that way.
Yeah. So I was neglected to mention that you're a psychiatrist, so it wasn't like you're somebody that's unemployed, even though you were married and you had kids and all of that kind of stuff. And it's not an infrequent story. It's sad, but often when the kids grow up and leave, couples find that they no longer have as much in common as they once did and separate for whatever reasons. And so people find themselves in the boat that you found yourself in and looking for companionship. And how do you find it in today's world? There's no such thing as bowling leagues anymore that we would go to and join, or things like that, or people that introduce you to someone, and that when we were younger, that happened all the time. But at our age now, it's less likely to be able to meet people that are in your situation.
And
Same.
I agree with you because at that time I was working at a very busy job, running into a lot of people in my office. And then
Mhm.
I did eventually join, a tennis club
Ah,
and
there you
playing
go.
tennis very often. But again, really most of the people, very nice people, but mostly coupled. and
Right.
not really maybe totally getting my situation, but again, not really introducing me to anyone. And so I think
Right.
the online route seemed to be the best, really.
Right. And so when you decided, okay, I'm not meeting people through the normal day-to-day life that I live, I'm going to try this online site kind of world. How did you get started? Did you do research? Did you look on the internet and say the top 10, or did you do any of that kind of research that I think I would do?
You know, I did, and I
Yeah, yeah.
had one single friend in particular who sort of acted a little bit like a dating coach and was
Ah,
giving me advice.
uh-huh.
And funny thing was when when you first look for these online dating sites, and then you decide, okay, well, I'm going to pay for, however many months it is that you're going to pay to put yourself on there. You have to
Right,
pick your photos,
right.
and it's
That would be
really kind of
traumatic for me.
it's sort of a funny business, because it's not professional photos, right? You're
Right,
trying to attract a mate or a partner.
right.
And my niece, who at the time was in her 20s, she took one look at my pictures and she just started laughing and said,
Oh,
"We got to
no.
change this up." And
Oh,
and it was really funny because when she changed my pictures up, I started getting a lot more messages than I had before.
so she was onto something, huh?
She was onto it.
And we do need a different pair of eyes to look at ourselves, I think, in general, you
I
know.
I agree with you. I agree with you. You know,
But you're putting yourself out there to be judged by somebody else. So I think that takes a lot of courage. And did you find that challenging to do?
it it was. I think at the beginning. I
Mhm.
think after a while, you just like any other sort of social media, you just sort of get used to it and you just sort of
Ah,
plow ahead. But you can get some negative comments. People will write, and
no kidding?
yeah, sorry.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could get negative comments.
Oh,
I
you
thought
can
you
you
just, like, swipe left or something if you didn't want some, but you could actually put in a like,
Oh, you
uh
can, write messages to the person and,
oh,
comment on what they wrote about themselves or,
oh,
the
okay.
town that you live in. Somebody wrote to me, "I can't
Oh,
believe you're living in that town. That's such an awful place."
ah,
Things like that.
okay. Oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
didn't even consider that. Yes, alright.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
I have to say, you need a thick skin. Right.
yeah, because and people are set off by the most trivial things, like, like the town that you live in, "Okay, thanks for, checking in." Like, why leave a comment like that? I don't understand what motivates people to say something like that. But
Exactly, and it's not gonna make you wanna date them. That is for
right.
sure.
And anyone who sees them making that comment, they're gonna think twice about, any the idea. So you've got a photo or a set of photos, and you've got a profile that they can look up,
You've got a
that
profile, so some of them really, you don't really need to write much at all. The theory being, I think that many people just look at the photos and don't look at what you write anyway, you know?
it's worth 1,000
Uh,
words.
right, and you can kinda tell, like, there's a site called Match.com, and I think a lot of the kinda older
Okay.
middle-aged people like that one, and you can always tell the people that are new because they write many, many paragraphs about
Uh-huh.
themselves.
Yeah.
Too much detail.
Right.
Yeah.
TMI. And it's like you say, you gotta get used to it. You gotta learn what the ropes are, like anything else, when you start out,
Right, right,
you're gonna make those kinds of mistakes. And,
right. And
I
I
think
and I would
go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry, that, you can sign up for as many of these sites as you want, right? So
Sure.
you think to yourself, well, like marketing, like why just be on one site? I might as well sign up for 4 or 5 sites, right?
Right.
And then what happens is you start seeing the exact same people on all the sites. And
Ah,
sometimes people write like a canned like message and they
mhm.
just send it to everyone that they're interested in. And so you start getting the same message from different
No
people on
kidding.
different
That is
from the same
amusing,
person.
man. Wow. I wonder if I would do that. I don't think so. I don't think I would do that. But I could see the idea of, like, again, you think it's a numbers game. So I'll just send it out and somebody's going to respond
It'll
and
stick somewhere. It'll
yeah,
stick
right,
somewhere.
right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
that's a valid way of looking at it. But it's depersonalizing it too. I mean, it
Mhm.
kind of goes against the point. You kind of want to be narrowing down your choices to someone that might be compatible with you. So if you send out canned messages, that's defeating the purpose, isn't it? I think.
Exactly,
Not that
exactly.
I know, but
Right,
it's
right. And
it
then
sounds right.
there are scammers on there that just
Of
look
course.
too perfect, right?
Mhm.
And at the beginning, you don't you don't realize, wow, this person
Right,
is so handsome and so successful. They're reaching out to me. I'm thinking, that's interesting.
and that's so what I don't know how to ask this question. It's like, what's the scammer's game? To to get you to give them
You
money somehow? Or
I think so. I
yeah.
think so. Um, I
So
think
you
there's a lot of dishonesty. And I
right.
think if you go at it, honestly, sometimes you don't look at it through that lens. And
Right.
so you're surprised because you're naive, right? You don't think
That's
that
a
that's what.
public service message. Thank you for saying that, Robin, because I think I would be one of those naive people thinking that, "Oh, of course, I wrote that I was a chess master. Of course they're interested in me."
Exactly, exactly. And maybe it's, people sort of cheating on their spouses. The spouses aren't aware that they're on there.
Of
I did have
course.
an experience where I I met up with somebody for a very, very nice dinner, and most people pay for meals and drinks and things like with a credit card, and this guy like had a giant wad of cash. Everything was in cash. And finally, we exchanged, last names at the end of the date and phone numbers. And so when I went home, I thought, oh, I'm going to Google him. I'm going to find out who he is. And he didn't exist. There, there was no such person. And so,
So
when
no
he
wonder he
texted
was in
me for
cash.
another date,
Yeah.
I wrote, I couldn't find you online. And he started getting sort of like not nice in terms of what he was writing back, and I thought, "Oh, this is really getting kind of something's going on that I don't know what it is." Right.
All right. So there is I won't go so far as to say it's a minefield, but there are things that you don't want to step into when you're going on to this.
True.
A- And you want to recognize that, I think, it's probably best before you start your journey online. Um, so there are a couple of ground rules that we would set. And do the sites help you with these ground rules? Or do they tell
I
you
think
little
so,
things?
and I
Mhm.
yes, and I think that as the years have gone on, there's a lot more safety things going on to really verify that the person's a real person and things
Right.
like that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So they have some scam control on their end, on the sites.
I
And I
think
would
that
think that the sites that are best at that are the ones that get the best reputations.
right,
I hope. I
right.
would hope. Yeah.
I think so.
So, you got over the initial reluctance to do it, the courage to expose yourself to this unknown online universe to judge you as to whether or not they would reach out to you. So, the first fear that I would have was that no one would.
Right,
And I'm out there
right.
by myself and no one wants to say hello. How you doing? So
Right.
that would be my first fear. But I assume that you were contacted and you didn't have that experience.
Right. Well, what you start to learn, you start to see trends, right? So what you
Mhm,
start to learn is when you're the new person, right? Like so when you first join,
mhm.
that's your best shot because that's when you're noticed. And I don't know how they do all of these,
I
search
get yeah,
engines
yeah,
and things like
yeah.
that, but the new person gets gets all the attention and all the messages. And then it just starts to sort of peter out over time,
Right.
right? So
Because
you do get a bunch of messages, but some of them are kind of strange and odd. And I think there are people on there that are just bored, or they're really not sincere about trying to find somebody. Yeah, it's more
and
entertainment, I think.
and I noticed when I did, my vigorous research into this, I noticed that there's sites like for dating, romance, and just friendships as well. So you want to be on the
Mhm.
right site for what you're looking for as well, I guess.
Right.
Or does one site provide all? Like, can I be looking for a friend and you're looking for a romantic interest and we're on the same site, or would we be
I
separated
think
by which
so.
site?
Like I know I haven't done it in a while, but the for good reasons. I'm engaged now, so that's good.
Oh,
Uh, success.
we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. Right now we still
Right.
dig on how it works.
But
Yeah.
I know, for example, Bumble, which is one of the really popular apps, where
Right.
you're swiping left and right and whatever. But they do have a BFF, like find your best friend on there. And
Oh,
so yeah, so if you just kind of lonely, feel isolated, and you want to make just like platonic friendships, you can do that on there. But that would be completely separate from,
right.
the rest of them are really relationship sites.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are
Yeah.
they explicit? Like I'm really interested in a physical relationship.
Oh,
Are they?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's what's assumed. Um,
yeah.
but I have to say sometimes, through the dates, it's really obvious to both of you that the chemistry isn't there. And sometimes
Right.
you make friends on there. You meet people
Yeah.
that are, nice people, and yeah.
Yeah. And what's wrong with that? I mean, that's nice too, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 So I'm trying to get over my initial reluctance. You're helping to change my mind about that this is something that I could do. I could actually, not that I'm going to do it, but that if I was ever in that situation that you described, heaven forbid, I would be able to do this because one, um, so what if people are looking at my photo and don't like it? Who cares,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Two, that people will reach out, especially when you're new, you're going to get some contacts.
You're gonna
You're
get
not going
something.
to be there all by yourself. That's silly. Um, and three, there there doesn't appear to be this pressure. You can go out on a date and without expectations, and you can make up your mind by what meeting. First off, you can kind of run a little diagnosis before you even agree to go out, and then you go out, and then you can do it further. Okay, in person, the chemistry's not there. I'm not going to follow up on this, and so gradually you're going to winnow it down to a smaller subset of people that you might have a real interest in.
Right.
And I can
Right.
see myself doing that, I think, but
Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
still just admiring you for having done it. But there's also another thing that I wanted to say. What was the ultimate site that you found your match on? You're engaged now. Congratulations. That's wonderful
Oh,
news.
thank you. Thank you. So it's
And
a Jewish dating site called JDate.
okay, I wanted to ask you about that because I'm pretending that I don't know you, but I do. You actually got engaged to my best friend, and
That's
I knew you were on J Date, and I was thinking that under these circumstances, with what's going on in the Middle East, might be one of those things that tell people that J Date's out there. It might be a way to reach out to somebody, and find somebody that knows what you're going through. Yeah,
right. Right.
you think that
Right.
that's a possibility for no other reason, just to be able to meet somebody that has that kind of stuff in common with you?
I mean, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. Um, yeah.
Like,
I
you
think
were on it.
it's
You were on it because it was like something that you might find someone that had things in common with you in general. That was helpful. But Now,
right,
even
right.
a
You know,
bigger
it's
reason.
interesting though because there are non-Jewish people on there,
Uh-huh.
and people kind of spill over. You know, they figure they want to try a different pool of people, and
Ah,
so I saw messages. I saw profiles from Jewish men on there that said, "If you're not Jewish, please don't message me." You know, because I think
oh,
there's
you know what this reminds me of? There
people.
was a Seinfeld episode where Elaine was a shitza, and Jewish men were attracted to her because she wasn't Jewish.
Oh, that's funny. That's
That
funny.
it was a
Yeah.
hilarious episode, and Elaine played it to the hilt, Julia um, Dreyfus. But she was basically saying, "What's going on here?" Where the men were attracted, and the rabbi was saying, "Oh, that's not really a thing," and then he hit on her.
That's
So
really fun.
you're thinking that these sites, you could go in there with the expectation, okay, I'm going to find a community of people that are like me or have common interest in me, and then you could be surprised that people are in there for a different reason, and you just
Right?
have to
And
be
also,
aware of that.
you have to be aware, and also that there's a lot of diversity, period, right? So on the Jewish dating site, some people are super religious. Some
Right,
people have never been to a synagogue. And so
right,
even within that community, you're kind of like, well, that's not really a good fit for me, whichever,
right. Yeah,
whatever
yeah. Wherever
works.
you lie on that spectrum. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have to be pretty open, I would say, to
You do, and that really
yeah,
that thick skin, I think, is super
the thick
important. You
skin.
can't take it too seriously, and, uh, somebody, I think it's commonly said, I think, that these dating sites are introduction sites. They're not really relationship sites, so it's
I
kinda
got
gives
it.
you an opportunity to meet
Right,
people,
right,
and then, of course, if you start dating the person, you get into all the complexity of
right.
all the dating issues in,
Oh,
mid and
sure.
older age. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's another show, isn't it?
That's
I
true.
I can't even imagine. But you've been through it and you've been successful at it. I congratulate you on it. The
Thank
thing
you.
is,
Thank you so much.
the thick skin I don't have. Um, and what was the other one you mentioned? You have to have a thick skin. Um, we started with openness. You have to be open.
Openness,
You
and I
get
think you also do have to have hope.
uh,
I think you have to have hope and be able
yeah,
to sort of visualize yourself in a different future.
that it could work.
Mhm,
Just
that it
just
could
simple
work.
as it
That
might
it could
work
work.
out.
Right.
And
Right.
I can do that. I could get myself into the frame of mind to think, it's possible.
Absolutely.
And to
Absolutely.
some extent, it is a numbers game. If you go on enough dates, you're going to meet somebody that you think makes you laugh, even or just something that you find attractive, or whatever it is. There's a spark,
Right.
and then you take it. Then you go wherever that leads.
Right.
So,
Right.
it doesn't have to be this, oh, I'm going to be judged and found wanting kind of thing that I talk myself out of these things before I even try them. We call we
Right.
call it contempt prior to investigation. When you put yourself out there, you put yourself through this, and you came out the other side successfully. And I would just ask you, would you recommend this for the average person in the situation of, you used to be married, you used to have a family, or you still have a family, of course, but you're kind of empty nesting, you're sort of finding
Right.
yourself alone at a later stage in your life. What are you going to do? Try this.
Absolutely.
You would
Absolutely.
do it.
And I
Absolutely.
think it's a huge learning process, learning curve. You learn about yourself, you find
Mhm.
weaknesses in yourself, your personality, your behavior you might not have been aware of before,
Uh,
and you start to identify patterns.
huh?
So I
That's
think
interesting.
it's not always fun,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
think think it's worth it. I do, but it is work. It's a lot of work.
That's a great comment. Because I was thinking of this as, like I didn't think it would all be fun, all roses and, unicorns and rainbows. But and I think there would probably be more. Well, I don't know if it's a true statement, but at least as many disappointments as, positive experiences, so
Yes,
you
I
got to
think
be able to, just chalk that up. It just didn't work out this time. Next time might work. Kind of have that philosophy and keep
right.
going.
And,
Don't get
and that
discouraged.
resilience is not always easy to have. Your
Yeah.
heart breaks the same way it did when you were when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just have to kind of exercise that muscle, I would say.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I must say that I've learned a great deal. You've managed to change my mind a certain. I'm more open now after talking to you than I was, and I'm actually more likely to encourage someone to do this than I was. If I find someone in this circumstance that we're talking about, and I know people like this in this circumstance, I've met people like this. I know people just through the natural course of my life, and it would never occur to me in the past to suggest this. For one, I would think it's a little, it's a little forward of me to say, "Hey, have you ever tried a dating site?" Or, but if I know the person well enough, then I might actually suggest it. Because
Fantastic.
I do know one other person besides yourself that had a successful experience, and you know, I had all this catastrophic thinking going into it beforehand, but she was like what you're saying. She just applied herself and just didn't get discouraged and just kept
Mhm.
going. So I just think that's an admirable quality to have, and to know that is not going to work necessarily on the first, second, or third time. You have to manage your own expectations.
Well said.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again, and I'm going to take you backstage now
Thank
and say
you.
goodbye. But I really appreciate you changing my mind about this topic. And thank you for.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that I did.
Okay, thank you. That was Robin Asher, a psychiatrist who's gone on dating sites and found someone that gave her a ring. Can you believe it? Yes. So I want to thank you for joining us, and remember that every weekend